What would you do if everything you touched died? If your actions could cause nothing but destruction and pain? Would you give up on life and ask if you should die as well? Well, that's the mindset Emukae took when she first discovered her minus, but through the power of love she was able to find a new purpose and outlook on life, creating things as a result of destruction. And so this is who we shall discuss today. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I cannot explain to you how much just small action can do for this channel. And if you want to support this channel even further, then perhaps check out my Patreon. Anyway, on with the video. Emukae was a minus. As a young girl, she discovered her skill when the fluffy pet she hugged and stroked decomposed in front of her eyes. She had a cursed touch that brought destruction to anything she touched, and so also brought misery and suffering to everyone and everything around her. It got to the point she wondered if she should just die, as her very existence amounted to nothing more than suffering for everybody else. That was until she met Kamigawa, someone who accepted her for who she was and didn't fear the suffering she could inflict on him. She joined his class minus 13 because he gave her a place to fit in, but as a result of transferring schools she ended up meeting someone else who would have an even bigger effect on her. Now it cannot be understated how much effect Zenkichi had on her life. When he puts his hand out to her, it's not only the literal first time a boy extended a hand to her, but also the more metaphorical first time anyone has offered her a helping hand. As for Emukae, her hands represent the pain and misery she causes on the world. Her hands to her represent her uselessness, they are her minus, the aspect of her that makes her wrong. Yet Zenkichi, by reaching out for it, is symbolically saying to her that he will help her even with the danger she poses. He will put his own well-being at risk to help her, and this is what makes her fall for him. Zenkichi and Kamigawa are the two men who showed her proper concern, but whereas Kamigawa gave her a place to belong and not feel ashamed of who she was, Zenkichi instead offered up salvation in the form of change for the better. I mean, just compare the first interactions we see between her and each of the two. Both offer up a hand to her, but whereas Zenkichi's is just a gesture, Kamigawa puts her hand on his face, allowing it to decompose. This shows that he's happy to accept who she is, minus and all, that he will take on the pain and destruction she causes with a smile on his face. This is because Kamigawa has no intention of actually helping her beyond giving her companionship. He will accept the pain she causes but won't help turn that pain into something else, as we see Zenkichi do later in the series. And so over the Kamigawa instant arc, we see her have to choose between these two men and which one she wants to trust in. But going back to her first meeting with Zenkichi, we see her go full on yandere. She talks about how many kids they're going to have, then stabs him in the foot when he tries to leave. And this behaviour ties into her backstory, where everything she loves, such as her pets, were killed by her touch. Everything she loves dies, and so when she does find someone she loves, she is desperate to make it work with them as quickly as possible, so a repeat won't happen again. She wants to fall in love and be happy before her hands get laid on them and turn them to mush. And the reason she doesn't act like this with Kamigawa is because once again he is someone who accepts her pain. Due to his minus, he is the one person who she has no fear of killing. She doesn't need to be yandere around him because she knows he will always be there by her side. And this might be the reason she doesn't love him, even though he offered her a hand as well, because he will never truly want to understand her. He will just accept the surface level, which is represented by her minus and the effect it has on the world. This difference in approach between Kamigawa and Zenkichi is then brought to a head in the third round of the student council election battle. In this battle we see Zenkichi and his mother versus Emukae and Kamigawa. In this fight we see Emukae use her minus to take control of the garden's plants and attack Hitomi and Zenkichi. This is under the instruction of Kamigawa, and the fact she uses these for attacking is very key, as this new power she uses is quite literally creation. She is causing plants to grow by making humus in the ground. She is giving creation through destruction, yet Kamigawa only views this use of her power through one lens. How can it further her minus, and how can it destroy? However, Zenkichi, due to his own skill, can see through the eyes of Emukae and so can see her viewpoint, and it's due to this that he can help her. Unlike Kamigawa, who saw her skill as only for destruction, he points out the obvious fact that with her power she can bring life to plants. He tells her about the dead sakura tree at his home and says how with her skill she can save it. He points out that her skill can be used for more than just destruction, as he can see that deep down Emukae doesn't really want to destroy things, she just feels as a minus is all she can do. She pushes away his feelings as she believes that only a minus can understand her, that she is not like normal people, but Zenkichi, someone with parasite seeing, can see past this and understand that underneath she is just a normal lonely girl in need of some love. He won't make the cruel things she does become nothing, he will make them something. He won't treat her like a minus but just as a girl who wants to be happy. Zenkichi tells her to entrust her worries to the suggestion box. In other words, he is telling her to rely on him and that he won't just stop at the surface level. Unlike Kumigawa, who said it was fine for her to not win and get a draw, he will not stop until he has saved her. He won't just use all fiction to make her problems nothing, he will help her to face and resolve them properly. And this is reciprocated when she uses her minus to remove the bracelets. She saves Kumigawa and Zenkichi using a destructive minus, she brings happiness with her minus, and then to further add to this she throws her own body on the bracelets to protect them. She doesn't use her minus but her own body to protect them, showing that there is more to her than just her minus, that she doesn't need to be defined by the destructiveness her minus causes. And of course when Kumigawa tries to erase her minus, she says it can't be done, as that minus is no longer just a minus, it is an important part of her. She no longer views it as just a destructive curse that was placed on her, but an important part of her that she can use to help others. Because in Medaka box, a minus is representative of one's nurture, of their circumstances and their environment. However, Raff-Rafflessia is no longer just her nurture, it has become a part of her, and so when Kumigawa erases her minus, he doesn't erase the skill that is now not her nurture, but a part of her very being. Something really hammered home when she refuses Kumigawa's offer to erase her injuries, as these were injuries she is proud of because they were the results of her own efforts. She was happy to be of use to others, to not cause pain and cruelty, to use her skills for something. To use her skills for something besides destruction. She needed to be valued by others so that she could value herself. Kumigawa and the other minuses gave her a place to belong, but they never expected anything of her. They were content with her being who she was. But to gain self-value and to be happy, she needed to be valued and allowed to act as something more than just a minus. When Zenkichi says he'd like to taste the miso soup made with her skill every morning, he's not only allowing her to be of use to people, but also to use her power to help people. He shows her how even a simple thing like that can make you happy. That happiness isn't an exclusive or hard to find thing, it's as normal as a breakfast miso soup. And so even a minus like her is able to achieve it. After the Kumigawa incident arc, Emukae remains as a loyal friend and supporter of Zenkichi, as after all he was the one to show her she is not only allowed to, but able to be happy. She in turn teaches him the importance of love in the election arc, when she and him are transported into the dream world by Najimi. When Zenkichi tries to justify his motives in fighting Medaka, when he acts embarrassed about fighting for what in his mind is such a juvenile and naive reason, she puts him straight and tells him that love is not embarrassing, because after all she was someone who was saved by love. Even if it wasn't meant to be romantic, Zenkichi's love and the compassion he showed her was what saved her. So when he calls it embarrassing, it's tantamount to him saying that her reason for living and her salvation was pitiful. Emukae, by telling him all this and putting him on a straight line course to understanding his own feelings, perfectly showcases the development she underwent in the previous arc, and she is without a doubt helping others and linking back to how she used her body, not her skill, to save them in the election battle. Now she uses her words alone without any need to use her skill. She saves someone just by being herself. She brings happiness to someone all on her own, and that is just a testament to how much she changed, and that even a minus is still someone who can teach you an important lesson on how to be happy. And well, on the grand scheme of things, the fact Zenkichi are normal, learns about love from a minus, of all people, really plays into the overall theme that everyone is just a person no matter what or who they are. Beyond this arc, we see her continue to support her saviour and love Zenkichi. She becomes part of his student council, a literal pillar of support for him, and then during the Black Jet wedding arc has her next big moment. In a flashback, we see her ask Medaka's opinion on whether she should join the student council, because in her own words, she thinks it's better to regret not doing something than regret doing it, which of course ties into her past. Her actions always caused pain and suffering due to her skill, so in her mind it is better to regret not doing something than destroying it by attempting it. But Medaka replies that there is satisfaction from not doing things and satisfaction from doing things, and that she should always do the latter. This is the final step in her development. She cuts her hair, a show of change in Japan, and she switches her knives back round so she is holding them properly. Now the reason she holds the blades of her knives and not the handles signifies this masochistic nature of hers. She doesn't feel she deserves to live, and so forces pain on herself. And more symbolic is that these are her weapons, so whenever she fights, when she acts to hurt and cause pain, she suffers pain as well. And yet, before someone comments it, yes, in universe this is so she doesn't rot away the knife handles, but there is still loads of symbolism besides that. And so when she holds them normally, she is saying that she no longer cares about regretting her actions. She will risk decomposing the wooden handles if it means fighting for love. She is no longer afraid to risk causing pain. She finally gains enough confidence in herself to risk it all for what she believes in and fights for. She fights a battle she knows she won't win, because by doing so she may reveal her opponent's style and give an advantage to her allies. She chooses to go into a losing fight knowing she may regret it afterwards, but does so because otherwise she would be a coward not worthy of having been saved. She confesses to Zenkichi to really nail down this commitment of hers to do things even if she will later regret them, as to her taking action is the biggest step towards her finally becoming true to who she really is. She ends up losing this fight, almost instantly I might add, but even so she did it, and when she fell down she was propped back up by Kamigawa, the person who admits that she is not wrong and that she has shed the mindset of a minus and become a true normal person. She did it out of love. She was true to herself, and more importantly, she chose to take action despite her fears of the consequences, despite the pain it may cause, and by doing so finally overcame her biggest flaw and ended up happy. Not just because she didn't cause misfortune, not just because she was of use to others, but because she did what she wanted to for no other reason than that is what she wanted to do. In the epilogue arc, we see her become a florist, one who gives life to plants. Her job reflects the fact her actions no longer cause misfortune, and better yet, what are the flowers she sold used for? They are brought to make people happy. Her job is one where she makes people smile, and by doing so, it makes her happy as well. It's a perfect job for her as it allows her to exercise all her development and still be as happy as can be. Overall, Emukae is a terrific example of how minuses are just people, making her key in both Medaka and Zenkichi coming to learn this lesson and playing into the overall message of the series that no matter who or what you are human. We are all equally human, and so minus or not, we are all equally allowed to be happy, which is of course the lesson Emukae learns by meeting Zenkichi, as she may destroy with her minus, but due to it she can also bring life. As much like destruction and creation, sadness and happiness are just two sides of the same coin, a coin called being human. Comment of the week comes from Alexander Henriquez. Sorry if I'm brutally mispronouncing your name there, and thank you for such a detailed and well written comment. If you are interested in my literary endeavours, then why not check out my books Gang Fluid Justice and People of Fate Volume 1, available at Amazon.com. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting this channel, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video, like Hikari Desu, 7SO, Rinjak9696, and Dewey. So with all that said and done, I've been SephTheSin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.